Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 3651 Southeast Lambert Street here in Portland. We're located down inside the basement where we pull the toilet, going through a 3-inch ABS cleanout. Here's our point of access. I'm sorry, not a cleanout, but 3-inch ABS flat. Sorry, 3-inch ABS toilet flange. We're going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We currently have water running, and I zeroed the camera out right at the base of the flange here. Here we go. Looks like it's transitioning here over to cast iron pipe. As far as I can tell, it looks like it's still 3-inch. And we're coming into a junction here. We're going to take a look at this on the way out. This almost looks like a backflow valve that the flap is stuck open on, but it's kind of hard to tell here. We'll take a look at that when we get it all drained out. We might get a better view as to what is going on in that particular location there. It looks like some type of junction. It looks like a flapper stuck in the up position, but let's see if we can't see a better view of it when it's drained out. We're just coming out of a belly. We're going to take a look at that on the way out when it's all drained. Transitions here over to 6-inch concrete pipe. Sorry, I'm trying to get a good look at what's dangling from the top of this pipe joint here. A lot of that looks like cobwebs. There's one little strand in and amongst that stuff there that does actually look like a root. I'm going to locate that when we come back in, see if it's near any trees or anything. There's a bunch of cobwebs in there that really obscure our view, and potentially it could all be cobwebs. That if you look in amongst that, you can see that the cobwebs are bright white, but there is kind of a brownish tan bunch of stringies that are hanging through that particular spot there on the right side of the pipe, and that's the spot I'm looking at there. That could be roots. It could also just be old cobwebs that have gotten gunked up over the years. And we've got a tie-in right here. We're also going to locate that on the way out, see what that is, or try and figure it out anyway. I'm going to try and see if it is possibly a party line connection or a rain drain tie-in. Usually party line connections from another house will be a full-size, it's like 6-inch diameter Y connection rather than a small hole in the side of the pipe like that is. The way that looks right now currently is like it's a storm drain connection. We do have roots coming through here at 40 feet. See that one strand poking out there. That does look similar to what we saw right at the transition point from cast iron over to concrete. So we got more roots coming through here. Sorry, my lens is kind of dirtied up. But there's more roots here at 55 feet. On top of that, the flow line here is starting to show quite a lot of aggregate rock through. The pipe is showing its age at this point. You can see that, like, especially right here, we have a good view of it, how much of that rock showing through. There's almost entire pieces of rock that are exposed at this point. Now we also have another root intrusion here at about 61 feet. Transitions here over to 6-inch 3034 PVC pipe. And here's the main lateral connection, about 75 feet out. I'm going to go do a locate just to verify where this is at exactly. Then we'll let the line drain out completely before reeling back in. Alright, located the camera head successfully out the main lateral on southeast Lambert. There's a big patch in the asphalt straight out from the driveway in the street area. That's directly in line. That patch is very likely this updated section of the pipe here. That just gives you an idea of the direction it's headed. And the reason here in Multnomah County the city maintains from curb to curb, that's why we have an updated section here while the rest of the pipe on property is unupdated. The two different portions are different responsibilities. Alrighty, so due to the fact that we have root intrusions essentially throughout the entire line, and I'll point all those out on the way back in, but it appears we had a root right at the very beginning at the transition from cast iron to concrete. If not there, shortly thereafter there was another root intrusion about a few feet after that spot. We also have roots out at the end here. At this point there's one or two other root intrusions in between these 2 points. Now because we have issues throughout the concrete section, that and the condition of it is very worn. You can see how much aggregate rock starting to show through here. Those reasons combined, I'm going to recommend a update here to the concrete section of the line. I'll get that mapped out with white paint. I'll mention the depths and locations here in just a moment. Now we are still out in the street area at this point, about 2 feet or so beyond the curb. Actually, looks like we may have some roots coming through right here that has been gunked. Yeah, there's another root intrusion there as well. We've got one here at 56 feet. We just went past another one a few feet from here. No, there's a bunch of them. We probably will see more now that the line's drained out. All right, we're right in the middle of the sidewalk here. I've got about 3 dots in a row just showing the direction the pipe is running. We're 8 feet 4 inches deep. And at the transition to 3034 PVC, which is just out in the street, that is at 9 feet 5 inches deep. And we'll see how all these joints and everything and look on the way out here. If we don't have any bellies or severe offset joints, you may be able to look into the possibility of doing a pipe liner, which is one of many techniques you could use. The advantage there is that you don't have to dig a single hole up, but you do have to have a skeleton of a line here that would function properly if you were to do that. All right, we're in the front yard area under the grass now. We're at 8 feet 4 inches there, about the same depth as under the sidewalk area. We've got more roots coming through here. We do have a belly here. Actually, it's an offset joint and a combination of a belly. You've got 1 inch of standing water, so it's a pretty minimal spot there. A pipe liner would smooth that joint out for sure. You would retain some of the standing water, and you would have less of an obstruction there. But it's, unless it drains out just about perfect. I would look into multiple repair processes. You will end up retaining this if you do a liner on it. So there's also a root coming through there at the top of the pipe. And this spot here, and after going through here, actually now we don't even see any of that stuff. So it looks like we might not have had a root here. Now this joint, I'm sorry, not the joint, but the tie-in just in front of the camera, you can see that opening there. We don't get the best look at it, but just a few feet down the pipe, we've got a tie-in. I'll go locate and see what this is next to. Given the direction this thing is running, it's more than likely a downspout tie-in off the front left corner of the house. But I'll attempt to make contact with the neighbors just to have them do a toilet flush to verify that it is indeed not a party line. Okay, I got this located out front, just kind of off to the left of the front doorway area. I've got a white tee on the ground. There's a tee at each end of the repair, all the way out, just a couple feet out into the street where the transition joint is. And about a foot or maybe 2 feet of it is likely going to be the city's responsibility, at least as far as I know. Generally in Multnomah County, it's from curb to curb is responsibility. Check into that to verify we're in Multnomah County and everything. Generally, this part of town, it's a city issue from curb to curb. So if there's a way to get that section updated so there's not just a random, really old section of concrete in the middle of new pipe, that would be ideal. So, I mean, there's going to be a permit process anyhow. So, anyway, I would try and get all of it updated if possible. But I do recommend a spot repair here from 35 feet all the way out to 62 feet, which again is at the transition. The curb is right around 60 feet. And right here at the start of the transition joint, it is at 7 feet 2 inches deep. Highly recommend a rescope after the repair is done to make sure it was done correctly. And I did go and knock on the neighbor's door next door. I'm not able to make contact with them. No one's home, so I can't have them flush a toilet and, you know, let me know that there's any connection there between the two homes. Given the size of it and everything, it's more than likely a storm drain connection, but it's really hard to tell. There's actually no storm drain like I thought there might be, on, at least it's visible on the left side of the home. So, and that pipe, as you're looking at the house from the street, is tying into from the left side of the property. So it's coming from a direction that could feasibly be that home. It's just the diameter of that tie-in there is not generally indicative of a party line. Usually you'll have a full-size 6-inch, whatever the diameter of the pipe is, that size of Y connection coming in. We've got a belly in the line here. Started around 25, 26 feet. So far here, the water level's sitting right around 1/4 of an inch. Here we're closer to about 1/2 inch of standing water. Now this size of belly, because there's 1/4 to 1/2 inch of standing water, I recommend a spot repair, and that's more so out of liability than anything. This is less likely to cause you problems. If this were like 2, 3, 4 inches of standing water, I would absolutely tell you, get it fixed no matter what. At this point right here, we can see that there's not hardly any debris collected in it. This is a spot that becomes an issue, especially if you're putting things down the line, like paper towels, feminine hygiene products, putting grease or cooking oil down the kitchen sink. That's where a belly of this size is generally going to be an issue. If you're just putting folded toilet paper down the toilet, and you can put food down the disposal, just have to avoid the fats, the grease, the oil, and stuff like that. That stuff is obviously making it through here with very little issue, because we have no debris buildup really to speak of, other than the water's a little bit thick with, you know, a little bit of grease we've stirred up with the camera. Other than that, it is still functioning through here. Now that extends from 26 feet to about 35 feet, just shy of 10 feet long. Now I don't want to tell you to not do a repair, because I do recommend it be corrected. It's just, of the two issues, this is certainly, this pipe is still in better condition than the concrete outside. No doubt about it. But obviously this is the ideal time to do an update if you're going to be going through that much effort, because it almost extends right out to the transition where that standing water is at. So I'll try and get this mapped out here. This is likely, part of this is going to be underneath the basement floor. I'll let this water kind of settle back into place here, but it ends here at, before we get all the way out of it, at 34 feet. Alright, there's a white X outside, a couple feet away from the transition, marking out there that white T. About 7 feet 2 inches deep there as well. I've got a white X with some dots leading back towards the house, so a portion of it is on the exterior. And I'm going to put the start of the repair here at 24 feet. And this I'll put a blue painter's tape X down on the floor, as long as it's on the floor or under the floor at this point. Alright, I've got a blue painter's tape X on the floor here. We're at 1 feet 3 inches deep under the basement floor. We're located, if you're looking at the front of the house from the street, we're in the front left basement room, just inside the doorway, a couple, maybe 2-3 feet from the front wall. I do recommend a spot repair to correct that belly there as well. If repair is not done, I would recommend rescoping the line in a year just to keep an eye on it. Make sure, you know, a lot of it has to do with living habits. If you're careful with what's going down the line, it's unlikely for that to cause you problems. If you're putting things down the line that shouldn't be going down there, even big wads of toilet paper, cast iron's rough pipe on the inside. It's not smooth like plastic, so any added resistance to it, it's stuff like big balls of toilet paper even will hang up quite easily. I would definitely get it rescoped at the year mark, and then you'll kind of get a baseline for how that's handling your living habits. So this spot here hasn't drained out any better. I think what we have is a backflow valve here. I'm going to forward the video onto a licensed plumbing contractor, have them take a look, and just to verify that. It's kind of an odd looking structure here. Normally you don't often see backflow valves this old, so they often look a bit different than this, but that disc up above the camera there does look like a backflow flapper that looks like it's stuck in the up position. As far as I can tell here, not a whole lot is hanging up in this particular spot. We'll turn the sink on and see if it runs through that area. The toilet certainly shoots through this, and my concern here, because we have standing water in and amongst this area, it could be a spot where toilet paper and everything else on earth could get hung up quite easily. It's not a terribly large section, but it's not a great pathway for stuff to move through. If it were just a pipe going through here, you know, only having maybe it's barely 6 inches long, wouldn't be too big of a deal, but you have a lot of room for stuff to divert through there, to the left and to the right, it looks like. So I'm going to try and locate this here as best I can. I'll try to put an X on top of it, but I am going to forward this on to a repair contractor, have them take a look. I've done about 15,000 sewer scopes, and I've only run into maybe 1 or 2 backflow valves at this age here. And at least that's what I'm assuming it is. But I'm going to have them take a look at it. I am inclined to recommend it be corrected because of all the standing water here. This looks like an awfully easy spot for toilet paper and human waste and everything to get hung up, because we're going down the toilet route currently, so everything has to pass through this particular spot. At least for the basement toilet anyway. Yeah, I've tried to locate that there. It looks like the line right from the toilet, and I'll show that when I pull the camera out, but it actually shoots straight towards the rear wall, and it looks like it does a complete turnaround, and right in the rear left corner of the bathroom, just adjacent to the sink here, that's where it looks like that's at. But because of the sink and the walls in the way, I can't get an accurate locate. But that's where my locate wand is bringing me to. I just cannot get on top of it properly. And all the pipe leading up to what appears to be that backflow valve there is in good shape, functioning properly. So anyway, here's our toilet flange. There's the sink. The line goes right towards the wall here. It's 90 that direction. And then it turns and goes around. And I believe that our main stack is likely right here in this spot. But I'm picking the locate up in this back corner here. I just can't get right on top of it. So it's somewhere within that wall there, it looks like. Or possibly partially under the wall, partially under the floor. Now, as an overview, I recommend correcting that backflow valve there because it's settled and you've got, I mean, there's probably 1.5 inches of standing water in that spot, and it's not a straight shot through there. There's a lot of room for debris to get diverted in that space and get hung up, especially because of the standing water is in there. So I recommend that be fixed. And then we have a belly from 24 feet to 34 feet. It's got a ½ inch of standing water. I recommend correcting that. And then just after that belly ends, we have a transition to concrete, and from 35 feet to 62 feet, we've got about 6 different root intrusions and some really worn out concrete pipe. There's a lot of aggregate rock showing through in the flow line. So for that reason, I recommend that whole concrete section be updated. And that's everything is mapped out on the outside with white paint. We're 7 feet deep right up by the house, about 9 feet. 5 inches by the time you're out in the street. And then on the interior, I do have some painter's tape on the floor where that belly does go half and half underneath the floor and outside. And so because of that, what I would look into is doing a bore. I do believe you'll have to contact the repair contractors, because I don't do the repairs, but I do believe that they can bore in underneath the floor. And so if that's the case, it requires you only have to dig some pilot holes, maybe 2 or 3, rather than trench everything up, just so you can make connections together. So you might be able to just do a cut in the floor and have that line bored into that point. Hopefully that's an option. You'll have to check on that, but I would look into that rather than just trenching. There's a lot of repair options out there. I highly recommend a rescope after the repair to make sure everything was done correctly. Aside from the issues I've mentioned, the rest of the pipe in between all those areas are in good shape and has good flow and are functioning properly at this time.